This episode, you're going to learn how to scam your way into anything. Anything! If you've ever wondered about the science that makes scamming possible, this is the episode for you. This episode of Scam School has two mommies, GoDaddy and Netflix. Welcome to the show that never lets you drink alone, Scam School, the only show dedicated to social engineering at the bar and on the street. I'm your host, Brian Brushwood, and today we begin a special two-part episode where I bring you my entire panel from South by Southwest, titled Social Engineering, Scam Your Way into Anything or From Anybody. All right, you guys ready to get this thing started? Exactly 4 people seem to give a damn. Let's try that again. Are you guys ready to get this started? There you go. All right, guys, some of you noticed that the final experiment we're going to do this evening relies on me sending out a Twitter to you guys and keeping some information secret from the folks up here on stage. So if you don't have a device that will allow you to follow Shwood, S-H-W-O-O-D, on Twitter, then I respectfully ask what the hell you're doing in South by Southwest Interactive. All right, guys, the show is called Social Engineering, Scam Your Way into Anything or From Anyone. My name is Brian Brushwood. I host a little show on the internet called Scam School. We call it the show about social engineering at the bar and on the street. We mainly use our powers for evil, usually to score free drinks at the bar. And it occurs to me some of you guys may not be familiar with the show. And in case that's the case, I actually have a little 90-second teaser here, and then we'll get things started. Check this out. Lateral force. But for some reason, this is just a weird, quirky thing. For some reason, if you stick a quarter to your forehead like this, right? If you stick a quarter to your forehead like this, and you hit your head on the table, it will not fall off like that, right? I mean, it actually takes, usually, I've never been able to do it in fewer than 3 hits. It's not till the 4th time that it actually will come off, right? And in fact, I will actually bet you, I'll buy your drinks for the rest of the night. If you're able to get the quarter to fall off in less than 3 hits. I'll show you. So here's what you're gonna do. You wanna set your drink off to the side, actually, and then and scoot on in. I'll actually stick it on. Yeah, there we go, perfect. And then we'll just go ahead, we'll stick that on. All right, you got it? Go for it, go for it.
In less than 3.
In less than 3, go. Keep going. You're almost there. It's getting loose. You're doing good. Keep going. Right? You can't get it. Keep going. You can get it. You can get it. No. You just gotta go a little bit harder. If you angle it down more towards, you gotta hit the downward force.
I've lost memories.
I don't remember math anymore. If you put your fingernails over the edge of the coin and push against it, it feels like it's still there when it goes off. But, sorry. All right, guys, so that's Scam School. Now, what we're going to talk about today, keep in mind, the purpose of this presentation is not to teach you guys actual crime. The idea is to alert you to the forms of social manipulation that can be used against you. We're educating for protection here. However, in the interest of keeping everything running as smoothly as possible and keeping the show as interesting as possible, I'm going to teach the show as though I was teaching you crime. But we're not teaching you crime. We don't endorse crime. All right, here's how to commit crime. All right. The dictionary defines social engineering as the practical application of sociological principles to particular social problems. I would restate that simply as using cheap, dirty psychological tricks to get people to do what you want. And to get things started here, now over the course of the next hour, you're going to learn about things called fixed action patterns. We're going to talk about 3 psychological backdoors that you can use to manipulate people and how to use those to accomplish certain tasks. And finally, to get things started, keep in mind here that my qualifications, I'm just an idiot who eats fire for a living, all right? I was lucky enough to have a show on the internet. If I start to sound vaguely scientific, it's only because I'm quoting people a million times smarter than me. If you want the information on what studies I'm referring to, I'll be happy to give you that after the show, but I figure we wouldn't bog down this presentation with that kind of talk. So we're going to start off here with a demonstration of what looks like ESP. This is not going to be ESP. This is a demonstration using psychological manipulation, verbal duplicity, and outright deception in order to achieve a specific outcome. I'll explain what we mean in a minute. But first, we're going to do an experiment in ESP, so I need to come out and I need to find 2 individuals who strike me as being exceptionally psychic. So I'm coming out, I'm feeling for psychic vibrations. Let's take a quick break and thank the people who make today's show possible. What's a domain smack? Well, in short, domains are so ridiculously cheap through our sponsor at GoDaddy.com that you can register an insulting, demeaning domain and put it to your friend's website just for the hell of it for less than the amount of money that's in your couch cushions right now. Take one of your friends who's a little bit proud of his sexual prowess, register the domain loservirgin.com and put it to his MySpace. Don't like this show? Register the domain worstshowontheinternet.com and put it to Scam School. Or if you're rather proud of your own performance, register the domain, I don't know, damnimgoodlooking.com and put it to your page. Whatever it is, be creative, be outrageous, be witty, but just make sure to send us the links at brian@revision3.com. We'll collect the winners and create a Hall of Fame at domainsmack.com. Now don't forget, to get the best price and free forwarding to whatever site you want, make sure to use that code SCAM3. That does two things. It gets you the good price, and more importantly, it keeps me in business. There we go, perfect. I'm coming around, I'm feeling for psychic vibrations. I'm getting some very powerful emanations like a force bubble of energy coming from, yes, you, sir. What is your name?
Mike.
Mike, let's hear for Mike as he heads up there on stage. Let me find a friend from Mike, feeling some powerful mojo from, I think it's got to be, yes, you, sir. What is your name?
Chris.
Chris, let's hear for Chris and Mike. They're going to be our two psychics. That means clap. All right, now here's what we're going to do. Let me get you or Chris, right? Mike on this side and Chris over here on this side. Now, before we get started, I want to know, going into this, would you consider yourself a believer or a non-believer in ESP, second sight, psychic phenomenon? Mike?
A non-believer.
A non-believer, a skeptic. And Chris?
Also non-believer.
Non-believer, which means for my ESP experiment, I managed to pick the two bastards who don't believe in ESP. This will be very interesting. What we're going to try to do is establish a psychic connection between you guys, which means we need to designate a psychic thought sender and a psychic thought receiver. If you don't mind, Mike, you're going to be the psychic thought sender. Chris, you're going to be the psychic thought receiver. Sound good so far? Now, to make sure there's no way for you to cheat and use your traditional five senses, before we go too far, we're going to cut you off from the outside world. And I do need to know, Chris, I do need to know, Chris, are you claustrophobic at all? No. Good, because I'm about to put you inside this really big blindfold, so I'm going to get a little faced out when I do that. I want you to face towards your audience, and I'm going to put you, boy, you're a big one, aren't you? Here we go. All right, now, nice and loud, Chris, so everyone in the room can hear. Can you see anything?
Nope.
That's very loud there, good job. Now, the problem with me being a magician is that some of these skeptics out there in the audience might think that that's some kind of tricky blindfold that you're able to see right through. So to satisfy those skeptics and keep everything as scientific as we can possibly make it, we're going to cut you off from the outside world and we're going to place you, buddy, in what scientists refer to as an isolation booth, all right? We're just going to cut you off from the outside world. Don't worry, nothing hurts. All right, now, while you're in the isolation booth, it's very important, Chris, that you do not speak, but you can nod your head yes or no. Do you understand? Excellent. If everything goes according to plan, you should receive some kind of psychic image. Until then, don't worry about what I'm saying to Mike. You just wait to receive your psychic image. Now, Mike, in just a moment, let's keep that volume turned up on that. In just a moment, you're gonna receive some kind of psychic image. Until then, don't worry about what I'm saying over here. Your job is you're gonna project the psychic image, right? Now, if you were to go with whatever image popped in your mind first, you would have what scientists call a psychological predisposition to choose common objects like a house, stick figure, a smiley face, those kinds of things. To help you come up with a unique image that nobody could have predicted, I've written upon these cards some general themes that you're going to use as inspiration when selecting your psychic image. Make sense?
Yep.
Good. So what I want you to do is reach forward with your right hand, touch the back of any one card. There you go. I'll put that one on top. Now keep in mind, Mike, any one of these folks in the audience could be a spy working for Chris. So make sure you're the only one who sees the card. Don't let me see it. Don't let the audience see it. Once you've read it, put it right back where you found it. Now, when you read that card, did a picture pop into your mind?
Yes.
Good. Whatever that image is, I want you to draw a simple version of it using this magic marker on this piece of poster board. I'll turn it around so the audience can't see. Draw nice and big, take up that entire page, and project that image into Chris's mind. Start now. Chris, have you received a psychic image?
Maybe.
Remember the talking rule, Chris. No, you are not allowed to talk. That's the talking rules. You have to not. Hey, there we go. Excellent. Smooth like silk. Here's what I'm going to do here, Chris. I'm going to put this poster board right here in front of you, buddy. I want you to find the edges with both of your hands. I'm going to put this marker in your right hand. I want you to take the cap off of that marker, and I want you to draw nice and big whatever image came to you, no matter how strange it may have seemed. Go ahead and start now.
And are you finished over here? Let me get you, whatever you do, buddy, don't stop projecting that psychic image. Hand that marker on over here to me and keep projecting as we all wait very, very patiently. Oh, how cute. He's trying to recap. Sorry about your fingers, Chris. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see what psychic image, but God damn it. What popped into Chris's mind. It's abstract. All right, I tell you now, Mike, obviously Chris has a blindfold on. He's got a box over his head. He has questionable artistic talents. But if this were a real ESP experiment, would you say he got it right or he got it wrong?
I'd say he got it right.
You say he got it right?
Yeah.
Let me get you to stand all the way here, right next to Chris, if you would, Mike. Nice and loud. Why don't you tell the audience what you're sending a picture of?
Christmas tree.
A Christmas tree? I would call that a match, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a huge round of applause for both my volunteers. You guys did a great job. All right, Chris. By the way, Chris, you did such a good job. This is your very own isolation booth for you to take home with you. One more time for my two psychics, guys. All right, quick show of hands here. How many people believe that we just saw incontrovertible proof of ESP? 3 jackasses. Good. I'll be happy to sell you time machines after the show. No, this is psychological manipulation. This is a routine I do in my stage show 200 times a year, and every single time, even though I've randomly picked the people from the audience, and I know reliably, 99% of the time, the two images, they're always different, but the two images always match at the end. So that's the kind of thing we're talking about, is how you can reliably get certain results out of people. Let's take a quick break and thank the people who make these scams possible.
All right, this week we continue your graduate course in deception and chicanery through the use of Netflix. I want you to check out The Prestige from 2006. This movie blew me away. It's a puzzle movie, a con movie. It's a movie about tricks and misdirection, starring Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale as two rival magicians. The movie's about the lengths these magicians go to try to outshine each other. This movie will have you on the edge of your seat all the way until the killer freaking ending, and you'll get to learn how some classic magic tricks are done along the way. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for Netflix, make sure to go to www.netflix.com/scamschool. The wwws at the beginning are just as important as the scam school at the end to make sure we get credit for the sale. You guys are going to love it, and you're going to be keeping Scam School in business.
And the thing we're going to use, the first thing we're going to do is talk about fixed action patterns. These are regular, blindly mechanical patterns of action. When we think of these, we think of stimulus response, which we see, for example, in mating rituals of animals of all varieties. And moving forward, though, one of the interesting things, there's some studies done with the wild turkey. Wild turkey is a very smart bird. It's smart enough to know an enemy from a friend, smart enough to know how to defend itself, but it doesn't rely on any of its intelligence or its perception. It uses one fixed action pattern when it comes to taking care of its young. What it does is it listens for a very particular sound that the young make, a particular cheep cheep that baby turkeys do. The moment it hears that, it triggers a mechanism that causes it to want to nurture and protect these young. Now, the science here is that they've done experiments where they take a stuffed polecat, the natural predator of the turkey, come dragging it up in front of the turkey. First thing the turkey does is try to kick its ass. But then they play inside of a tape recorder deep inside of the polecat, and it plays that bird chirping sound, and the turkey immediately starts loving and protecting it. Now, the first thing when people hear this, they're like, okay, well, that's animals, right? Animals are dumb, people are smart, we're reasoning, thinking beings. Ha! It turns out that study after study has shown the opposite. The most famous of these, a Harvard study, wanted to know if it was possible that when you offer a reason for something, it increases the likelihood that somebody will grant you a favor. So the way they did this was they got a bunch of people who happened to be waiting in line for a Xerox machine. They sent in somebody undercover to try to cut in line and be first. Sometimes she would walk up and say, "Excuse me, I've got 5 pages. Can I use the Xerox machine?" And when she did, 40% of the people were like, "Hey, bug off, lady." But 60% of them were like, "Fine, go for it." But by the way, 60% success just for asking with no legitimate reason. I think there's a lesson right there. You could get a lot of things just by asking, saying, "Gimme." But then they sent her in another time saying, "Excuse me, I've got 5 pages. Can I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush?" So she offered an explanation. When she offered an explanation, it jumped to 94% success rate. Now, when you watch this, though, the thing that people think is, oh yeah, she offered a rational reason, people thought about the reason, they decided it was a good idea, and they let her do it. Turns out that's not the case, because they tried a whole bunch of different trials, and they figured out that the magic word was because. As long as she said the word because, it was always 94% success. For example, she might go up and say, excuse me, I've got 5 pages. Can I use the Xerox machine? Because I've got 5 pages. Which of course is no explanation at all. 94% success. Right? So what's going on here? Let's do this. We're going to talk about the first of these 3 fixed action patterns. This is the least surprising to you guys. It's the most obvious. I think we're all aware that it's very hard to say no to somebody who we like a lot. But that is the first FAP we're going to talk about, is liking. And some of it's, you can rely on your natural charm. There are ways to use particular tricks to cause people to like you. The oldest book is still the best, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Lots of little nuggets, like make sure to say their name repeatedly, ask questions about them. People like to think and talk about themselves. If you do that kind of stuff, you're going to get people to like you. But the most important question is, what can I do with this? So I'm going to tell you I'm not going to say foolproof, but my very good method to get out of speeding tickets using only the liking fixed action pattern. Now, I don't drive badly, but I do drive a lot. When you're on the road 200 days out of the year, sooner or later you get pulled over, and I will say that the following has worked 14 out of the last 16 times. First thing, when you get pulled over, you got to relax. It's just a ticket. If you get nervous or upset, you have that adrenaline rush, it's going to cause your fingers to tremble, and that's going to be bad news. They're going to give you a ticket. Second of all, no crying. No, that's all they hear all day. Boo-hoo, boo-hoo, my husband will beat me if I have another ticket. You don't want to do that. My personal game is the moment I get pulled over, I've got 3 minutes to make them laugh. There's never been one time I've made the police officer laugh and he has still given me a ticket. So the first thing I do, kind of self-working, this first part, 80% of the time it works for me. The moment they ask me for my ID, for my driver's license, I pause and I say, well, officer, I got to warn you. I'm going to give it to you, but the picture looks nothing like me. And then I hand them one of these. Most of the time they laugh and let me go right there. But sometimes you got to go a little bit farther, and then they want the paperwork and stuff. They'll say, well, where's your insurance? And I say, well, officer, this is a rental car. I don't have my insurance on me, but I'm told this will help. And if he makes a face, I'll roll with it. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, officer. I figured this wouldn't be valid in this state, so I also brought the community. This one, no, go. That's about as much as you could do. And this breaks their pattern, because the pattern they have is they pull someone over, they're terrified, they issue them a ticket, and then they go off their way. You want to break that pattern and get in on the liking FAP. Works most of the time. Second, oh, by the way, how many of you guys are familiar with Brett Rounceville, the Amtrekker? Any of you guys know this guy? This guy's been, one guy clapping. That's wonderful. He travels all over the United States. He calls himself an unemployed vagrant, and he gets himself into a lot of sticky situations. And he had the best quote to summarize this. He says, I know that if I was their friend, there's no chance they'd give me a ticket. So the moment I'm pulled over, I figure I've got 3 minutes to become their friend. Now, he does it by being naturally charming and likable. I do it by cheesy sight gags. So moving forward, second psychological backdoor, reciprocation. It's very difficult to say no to somebody who gives you something for free. And there's a study that proved exactly this. Cornell professor Dennis Regan did an experiment that was a fake art appreciation experiment. 2 testers. One guy was a real guy, one guy was a fake guy. Mr. Real Guy and Mr. Fake Guy spent a few hours evaluating art, saying what they thought about it, and about midway through the day, Mr. Fake Tester runs off and comes back later. He came back one of 2 ways. Either he came back with nothing, or he came back bearing 2 gifts, bottles of Coke. He'd say, you know what, I was on my way to the can, saw there was a Diet Coke machine, figured I'd pick one up for myself, and I was like, what the heck, I'll get one for you as well. And then they went back to evaluating the art. At the end of the day, Mr. Fake Tester snuck something in. He said, oh, by the way, I'm doing this raffle thing, and if I sell enough raffle tickets, there's a chance that I can win a car. So I tell you what, if you don't mind buying one, anything would help, the more the better. So we left it open to the real tester to decide how many of these raffle tickets to buy. Under reciprocation, he purchased twice as many raffle tickets as without the reciprocation. Now when you look at this from the outside, you're like, oh, of course. You already said, Brian, that when you like people, you do more stuff for them, right? So obviously he bought the Coke. It made the guy like the Coke. I mean, like the guy for buying him the Coke. He probably liked the Coke too. And then as a result, he bought more. But they did survey results afterwards to find out what the real tester thought of the fake one. And even if they actively disliked the fake tester, they still bought some. So reciprocation is a very powerful one. And in fact, how many of you guys have been given something by a beggar, and before you knew it, you already had it, and you felt obligated to give them some cash? Hands in the air if you've run into this. Yeah, the Krishnas are masters of this. They give a copy of the Bhagavad Gita or a flower, and then you give them $5, you throw the flower in the trash. The moment you leave, they go out and they pick the flower out of the trash, and they give it to the next guy. Here's the thing. Reciprocation, if you want to be direct by actually giving an object, a couple of things to remember. First of all, free drinks for everyone going home after South by Southwest. Yeah, that's a gift for you guys, right? Just go buy 3 bags of M&Ms when you get on the plane. Say, hey, figured you guys are hungry. Got one of these for each of you. Ding, ding, ding. Now, the odds of all 3 of these guys being selfish enough not to hook you up with a free drink are very, very low. But if it does happen, don't come crying to me. Some people take it a step farther with a gift basket they give to the gate agent trying to get a first class upgrade. If you do this, remember not to treat it as a bribe. People react very differently when they think they're being involved in a bribe. What you want to do is make it clear it's a gift. Give what magicians call time delay between you giving the gift and you asking for a favor, and you'll get the most success. But what's funny is I don't even do reciprocation this way. I don't give anything away physically. I guess I do sometimes, but for the most part I don't. What I do, I found that pretty much all of using the reciprocation fixed action pattern and the liking fixed action pattern is pretty much what everything we teach in Scam School is all about. 2 things. When you give a performance, you break up people's day, you give them something of value, and more importantly, you spend time with them and allow yourself an opportunity to build up rapport and work on the liking FAP as well. So we're going to talk about, there's 3 different types of tricks that we teach on Scam School. We've got openers, we've got tweeners, and we've got payoffs. Let me explain them, and I'm going to illustrate each of these.
So next week we'll be back with the second half of the presentation. Until then, let me know what you think. You can write me directly at brian@revision3.com. Or better yet, join us in the discussion forums at revision3.com/scamschool. And of course, as always, you can follow my adventures at twitter.com/schwood. Until then, I think there's a party or 2 around here we got to get.